Hi loves, I'm Cinder Paige, and today I'm going to be coloring my friend's hair. So I work with my friend Kat, and over a year ago she had really long brown hair and she wanted to go pink, so I bleached her whole head and colored it pink. And since then she's just been kind of going through colors kind of like I do and having some bomb ass hair, but now she wants a little touch up and she's moving soon, so I'm going to be doing that here for her today. Something else is I do work with her, so her and my germs are already exposed to each other. So in doing her hair, I'm not exposing myself to like another person. I have been trying to limit the amount of people I come in contact with. So just my coworkers and my roommate mostly. I do have a personal trainer. There's going to be a video on that as well. So I did expose myself to my personal trainer, but outside of that, you know, just people that I have to be around, like my roommate and my coworkers. But yeah, I'm going to use Arctic Fox. I'm going to touch up her roots and make her hair look really cool. So go ahead and watch. So this is a picture from last time I did her hair. So the before when it was brown and then when we colored it pink. And this is her hair before I touched it up. She had pink roots that were faded out and blue ends. And what I decided to do first was go through and bleach the roots, just the regrowth, not the pink part, and just get rid of the brown in her hair. And then I go through and pull it through the pink, and then I do a little bit on the blue as well. She wants her ends to be purple, and the blue is pretty prominent and staying in her hair pretty well. So I did end up doing a test strip, which you'll see here in a minute, just to see if I could get out the blue. And it faded a little, but not a lot. So ultimately the blue does kind of stay in there. So the first thing I do whenever I color somebody's hair is I section it out in quadrants. So 2 on the bottom, 2 on the top. So those are the sections I'll be working in as I bleach it. And I also asked Kat, because even though I had done her hair myself like a year ago, I wasn't sure what had been done to it since then. So I just asked her what, when she's got it done by somebody else, where did they bleach first, the top or the bottom of their hair? On my own self, I was bleaching the bottom of my hair, starting at the bottom every time I did it, and the underneath has broken off. So what I do now is I rotate like top and bottom. So one time I color my hair, I'll start bleaching at the bottom, the next time at the top. That way the bottom doesn't get over processed all the time. And the person who had been doing her hair had been doing it from the top. So I start from the bottom, or I do it from the bottom this time just to make sure that the top doesn't get over processed. And then right here is just me doing a test strip. And if you watch through this, the bleach is really chunky at first, and we were trying to figure out why. So you'll see as I apply more in a minute, it's super chunky and it was mixed correctly. But I think what happened is the hair color was in her car for a while, and we're in Southern California, so it's super hot. So I think the heat was making it chunky. Look right here. You can see right in the middle is the section that I bleached, and it faded a little, but not a lot. So this helps me determine that the blue was going to be in there still, because I didn't want to over process or over color her hair too much. And here's that chunky bleach I was talking about. So comment below if you know why it was so chunky. We both think it was from the heat in the car, because after I applied this, I felt the developer and realized that the developer was pretty warm. So I think that's what was causing it, but comment below, let me know if you know a little bit more something about that. But I'm just going to go through section by section and apply the bleach. I'm trying to keep it just on the regrowth, and I do it in little sections. So I'll pull a piece apart and do all the brown that's visible, and then take another small section and lift up. This just helps me make sure that it's fully saturated and I don't miss any spots. If you've heard me talk about hair coloring before, you'll know that I always recommend making sure that everything is really, really, really saturated. That is the key to your hair turning out better. So go ahead and watch me do this. So a tip for either coloring your hair or bleaching your hair, or if you're coloring or bleaching your friend's hair, is you'll watch as I do this, I use the handle part of the hair coloring brush to section out her hair. So that makes it really easy because then I'm just using one tool and it helps me just get little sections almost like you would with a comb. So I kind of use it as the purpose of a comb, and that helps a lot. Also, anytime you're bleaching, it's really important to pay attention to what level of bleach you're using, because only certain levels should really be used on the scalp. So 40 developer should not be used on the scalp, and then 30 can, but you got to watch it because it is, it's 30 developer, so it is a little stronger. If you're uncomfortable with bleaching or you aren't familiar with doing it yourself or with developer, there are kits out there that have the developer already set in them, and you could just try a kit because then that way everything is already kind of portioned out to what you're supposed to use. Or what I recommend if you're uncomfortable or a little nervous, start with 20 developer. Basically, the higher number of the developer, the stronger it is and the faster it will bleach. So for example, if you use 40, you're more likely to burn somebody's scalp because it's just really strong chemicals. So here I believe we used 30, I believe is what we were using. And then as you watch, I do have to mix up a couple batches of bleach, and once I get into the second batch, you'll notice how the bleach becomes a lot less chunky and it's easier to apply. And again, I think that was because of the temperature of the bleach. So even myself, I've been coloring my own hair for like 15 years, and I still am learning new things. You know, I'm not licensed and haven't been in school, so I'm still learning new things and new tips. So always just think through what you're doing and plan it out. Another tip is not to rush. I recommend this with hair especially, but also with any crafts you do or any hobbies you do. Just don't rush and take your time. Set the time aside and, be gentle on yourself. Sometimes people rush or get nervous and things don't turn out well. Both times I've done Kat's hair, she has known that it's going to be a long process and kind of set the time aside. Now that I have applied bleach on the bottom section of the hair, I'm starting on the top. And it's really important when you do this to keep an eye on the bottom, because the bottom has had the bleach on it the longest amount of time. So keep an eye on it and make sure that it doesn't overprocess. The first time I did Kat's hair, I actually just bleached one half of it and then went back and bleached the second half because I didn't want the first half to overprocess. So just keep an eye on it. So her hair is super long, so it takes a while to navigate through it and to section it off and do everything. So with long hair, you run the risk of things over processing because it just takes more time to apply. So for example, if something takes 20 minutes to develop on your head and it takes you 20 minutes to apply it to like one section, then by the time you're done with that section, it might be already processed and you might need to wash it out. So just pay attention, do your research, watch videos, whether it's my videos or other people's videos, and just learn a little bit about what you're doing before you try using these harsh chemicals. As you watch, you'll notice that I keep going back and looking at the sections that I've already bleached. So I do this for two reasons. One is to take a look at how it's processing and make sure it's not over processing. And then the other reason is just to cross check it and make sure I haven't missed any sections. So when you first put the bleach on the hair is brown.
But if you wait a little bit and go back and look at it, anything that you have applied the bleach to will then be yellow, which means that if I missed bleach anywhere, it will still be brown, and I can tell and then apply bleach on those spots. Sometimes when you see videos of people bleaching their hair, they will apply plastic or they'll wrap up the hair and let the bleach develop under the wrap. And the reason for that is that keeps in the heat and helps it bleach out. In this case, we're doing regrowth. So regrowth bleaches very, very quickly. And again, because it takes so long to apply it, that I never wrap it, because by the time I get through putting the bleach on, we're kind of already done almost. So you'll notice that I never really do wrap it because it doesn't need to sit that long. If you are trying to bleach out black out of your hair, or if you have super dark natural hair, or hair that has had a bunch of color on it and it just needs a lot of developing time to get those colors out, then you'll want to wrap it. But in this case, we're really just doing the roots for the most part, so that's not necessary. Now that I have the roots completely covered and I cross-checked it a couple times to make sure I didn't miss any spots, now what I'm doing is I'm just running the rest of the bleach that I have left over some blue pieces. And the reason why I'm doing this is just to see if I could lighten the blue a little bit more. And I don't want to let it develop too long because I don't want to damage the ends more. Your ends are always going to be naturally more damaged because they've been on your head the longest, so they've been washed the most, colored the most, exposed to the elements the most. So in this case, I'm going to run a little through for two reasons. I want to try to blend the roots into the blue a little bit, because having a nice blend is always important. And then I also want to, if I can lighten it a little bit in some areas, I will. So I'm kind of just applying it randomly, but like evenly. So say if I do 2 chunks of blue on one side, I'm going to do 2 chunks of blue on the other side. That way the same areas are lightened on each side, if that makes sense. So I always think through like, okay, if I only have this much bleach left and I could only apply this little bit of bleach, where should I apply it? And I just think it through first, because if I only have a little bit of bleach left and I start just completely bleaching out the blue on one side and then I run out on the other side, then one side of her head is going to be lighter. So in this case, because I have the bleach, I want to use it up and see what I could do, but I also want to be methodical with it and think about what I'm doing. So just keep that in mind when you're doing your own hair or your friend's hair, or if a friend is doing your hair, that's something you could do to kind of guide them. Just think through what you're going to do before you do it and look at how much product you have available. You may notice that some of the pink in her hair is getting bleached, but I haven't specifically tried to bleach the pink out. And the reason is because the pink in her hair is super, super light, and we're going to put bright pink over it, so it doesn't need to be bleached out. So anytime something does not need to be bleached out to have the effect you need, then don't bleach it, because you're just damaging your hair for no reason. So like, it is getting a little bleached just because of the process and what we're doing, but it's not necessary to actually bleach it out. All right, and this is just footage from my phone, but it's of her hair after we washed out the bleach. It looks even and perfect. I didn't miss any spots, and we're ready to apply color. So now that the bleach is out, she did blow dry her hair for quite a while. She has long hair, so it takes a while to blow dry it, but it's basically dry. So we're now going to divide it into quadrants again and apply color. So we're basically going to apply everything the exact same way we did the bleach. The initial plan for coloring her hair was to use Arctic Fox, and we did end up using some Arctic Fox, but there was a shipment delay or something at Sally's, and she wasn't able to buy more than what I just had at home. So we purchased some Ion Brights, and that's what I'm using here for the pink, which Ion is the Sally's brand. They're vegan, and I believe they're cruelty-free, and they usually work pretty well. This pink is actually a pink that we would have to mix with Developer, though. So not something I commonly use. Usually I use colors that are already mixed together, but honestly, I would say it worked really well and turned out really pretty. So as I'm applying it on, it looks really light and pastel, but it does develop into a pretty bright pink color. So I was happy with it and how it worked out. And then on her ends, she purchased a purple that is also Ion Brights, but it didn't need to be mixed with Developer, so it's just like a thick, highly pigmented hair color, similar to Arctic Fox or like Manic Panic or any of those colors that you buy that you don't need Developer. I will say the purple was super dark and super thick, and it was a little hard to work with. The pink was easier to work with. So what I ultimately end up doing is putting the colors on that she purchased and how she wanted them done. So I did the purple on top of the blue, and then the pink on the bleach section have those pink roots. And then what I did is I took some of my Arctic Fox colors to just go in and kind of blend the colors together nicely, because the Ion Bright Purple was so thick that it was kind of hard to blend it into the pink root like successfully and make it look really nice and smooth. So I ended up using some Arctic Fox colors to do that. And then since I had some Aquamarine from Arctic Fox, which is blue, I decided to put that just on the very ends of her hair at the very end, just to kind of give it another dimension of color. So go ahead and watch, and we'll get this done. So if you look at her roots, you could see how much the pink has developed, way brighter than it was when I first put it on. Also, as I got some of the pink onto the blue, you can see that it's starting to turn purple. But now we're going to go into the actual purple hair dye. And again, I'm starting at the bottom. And the key is, what I'm doing here is I'm putting it on the areas that connect like the pink to the blue first. And then I kind of rub it with my hands. And that's what helps melt it together. So if you're doing multiple colors on your hair and you want them to not look like a sharp line, but you want them to look like they're like melting into each other, that's the key. You like rub it together between your fingers and it just kind of melts it in and it looks soft and it looks nice. I will say using these colors make blending easier because pink and blue make purple and she wanted purple, so it does make it easy. But even if you're using contrasting colors, the technique of rubbing it with your fingers helps. And then what I go through is I'm going to put this purple on. And again, this purple does not have any developer on it. It's just a really pigmented color. And then I'm going to keep my eye on the pink on her scalp. And I asked her multiple times how it was feeling, just because I had just bleached her roots. And now I have a color that has developer on her roots. So that's a lot of chemicals and a lot of processing. So I've just been communicating with her and asking her how it feels. Is it itching? Is it stinging? Because at the end of the day, if it starts to get uncomfortable for her or it doesn't feel good, we could wash it off and then blow dry her hair and then come back and put the purple on. That's fine. You just don't want to damage the hair or burn skin or make the person's hair you're doing feel really uncomfortable, because there's no reason for that. So I'm just going to go through and apply purple for a while, and then you could watch me kind of melt it together. And this is about the point where I realized that the ion purple is hard to melt in. And that's when I asked Kat if it's okay if I use some of my Arctic Fox to just help it, because I really want the top of her hair where it goes from pink to purple to look nice. That's really important. And using some Arctic Fox that I know how to work with and that I know melts into each other really well will help with that. And she was totally fine with that. So you'll see in a minute that I'll do that. I use Purple Rain is the color I use from Arctic Fox. It's a purple color, and then Aquamarine is what I use on the ends. I just wanted to add in, you may have noticed that I'm not wearing gloves right now. I did not have enough gloves. So I realized that after we started. So I used gloves when I used bleach, because that was the harshest chemical, and then one glove when I had the pink. And then now for the blue and the Arctic Fox, there's no chemical, so I haven't been using gloves. So it stains my hands. But if you are doing harsh chemicals, make sure you have gloves. I just didn't, so I just improvised and wanted to make her hair look nice anyway, and it stained my hands. Once I got all the color applied, it sat for a few minutes, and then I washed it in super cold water, and here are the results. And her hair wasn't all the way dry in this video because it takes forever to dry her hair, but you can see how nice it looks, what the color looks like, how it's blended together. It's just really beautiful and vibrant. And I love how it turned out. I really hope she did too.
Well, thank you so much for watching. I am going to be starting a new series with hair coloring. I don't want to give too many details yet because I do want to get some videos filmed for it before I announce it. But if you like hair coloring and you like watching people get their hair colored and you like chatting, you like crafts, DIY, go ahead and like and subscribe. I do all of the above here on my channel, and it's been really fun. And ring the bell if you want to be notified every time I post. And until next time, keep sinning.